maybe an active shooter inside of a mall that's going on, and you need to know what's going on. So maybe you can go quickly to your cell phone. You want to get updates. You go to your local favorite news that you watch. You're not going to get those quick updates. Now you're going to get basically something that's very vague: police activity. We all know there's police activity going on, but what kind of police activity is going on? So now we're going to be at the mercy of waiting on the sheriff's department, public information officer to feel when it's necessary to inform the community, and we deserve to know right away what's happening. Um, this can put many people lives and animals at risk when there's wildfires. Many communities rely in East San Diego, in the rural areas of San Diego, they rely on using police scanners to get the right personnel and the support that they need for animal rescues, to rescue such thing as horses and any kind of wildlife animals that they have. So groups will send out the right support system with horse trailers and people with the community to go out there to help those type of families. In 2017, when the Lilac Fire struck Fallbrook, this is a perfect example. There was over 400 plus horses that were trapped in a stable. A lot of them perished in the fire, and people started networking. The fire's moving this way. They were able to get resources, people who own trailers, people from outside of San Diego to come out to San Diego to bring those resources to help people to get out and get our. This is not this is not good for the local news reporters who have a job of reporting breaking news. So now if there's a crime scene that's happening on your neighborhood and you see yellow tape up everywhere, you already know that it's police activity. Now you're going to be told by the sheriff's department it's police activity, and hours later when they feel that it's necessary to inform you, inform that what has transpired, which is already too late. Now that your family, you're out on a walk, you send your kids to that park, you don't know that a murder just happened. An attempted kidnapping may have just happened outside of the school, a possible abduction. We need to know these things right away. We can't rely on getting told hours later in San Diego what is going on. We need to know now, and we need this to happen now. They need to give the media immediate access and also the public immediate access. It is a flip of the switch. The Department of Justice created a program which suggested to the local police agencies throughout California to either protect people's identity and personal information by using a separate channel, which is inquiry, which they would run date of birth, license plates, and any kind of personal information. So they do have the tool to utilize to be to not have that information be broadcasted. The main dispatch channel that you normally hear, shots fired, possible active shooter, a school's on lockdown. That's what the media relies on to hear. That is the information that we need to hear. We're not asking to hear about someone's date of birth. We're not asking to hear about what kind of vehicle that is their registration is up to date. We need to know what is the breaking news that is happening now, so us reporters, including me, can inform the public for your safety and get people the help and the resources that are needed. Because what happens when there's a wildfire that's going on throughout San Diego County and a fire is going on, resources are stretched thin. And I know that because I had covered many wildfires being out there in areas where the wildfire is going on. The sheriffs are too busy working on traffic detours. They're too busy on working on helping evacuate a certain area to where now if you can't hear the scanner that the fire has now shifted, people can get trapped in a fire now. People who live in San Diego County, including Fallbrook, all the rural areas, they can get trapped in a fire because they didn't have the time to leave. Nobody wants to get pounding on the door by the sheriffs and being told you need to run out the house now. Flames are now in your backyard. People deserve the adequate time to be able to pack up with their family and safely leave by being properly notified of what is happening. And this is just a problem. This is going to change when you wake up in the morning, you drink your cup of coffee, and you want to watch the early morning news of breaking news of what's going on. Things are now going to change of local news. Things are going to change, and it's an issue. And we ask that the community of San Diego stands up, supports the issue, and demands also the sheriff to make the changes. And this also goes on to the local leaders, the county leaders, the city mayors, so the Vista mayor, the San Marcos mayor, the mayors of every city that has that utilize the sheriffs for policing their city. The mayors also have they can take action to help to make a change. And I brought Joseph with me today here to talk about also the dilemma and the discrepancies that may be happening now in the future. And again, my name is Joshua. I am with Josh News. I'm a local photojournalist with Josh News. How do you spell your full name? It's going to be Joshua, Joshua, and you're going to put Joshy News, JoshYnews. And I'm a local independent photojournalist. I just put R, Joshua R. Yeah, Joshy News will be spelled all in one, JoshYnews.
Good morning, I'm Yusef Miller, YUSCF, MILLER, with the North County Equity and Justice Coalition and the Racial Justice Coalition of San Diego. And the DOJ did give law enforcement the flexibility to encrypt and to protect data. But law enforcement has taken the long route. They've taken the full route. And what this does is it inhibits transparency and accountability. We as a community need to have transparency with law enforcement, where things are happening in our community, where people are being stopped, pulled over. This is the accessibility that we've needed, not just since the murder of Troy, but for a long time coming. People have been pooling this data to keep the community safe. But what we see is that the sheriff's department particularly is full encrypted, and what does it do? It prevents us from accessibility and transparency. But on the paradoxal side, they have increased monitoring of the community. The street lights and the surveillance cameras, those have increased, and they're trying to increase even more. And at the same time, they have blocked our access to what's going on in law enforcement. We need this type of access for trust and transparency's sake. We cannot wait, as Joshua mentioned earlier, we cannot wait for law enforcement to inform us of things that are happening in our community. Police shootings, any active shooter, rapes, thefts, these can impact our family. And we need to know and be ahead of what's going on. We may need to grab our children and bring our spouses in and tell them, warn them about what's going on. So this paradox relationship with hyper surveillance community and blocking surveillance of law enforcement is anti the era that we're in, going against the transparency that we need and demand, the access that we need and demand. So it's critical to the community, above all, that we have access to what law enforcement is doing, what law enforcement is seeing to a certain level. We don't need the personal data of people that they're investigating. We do not. But we need to be safe. We need to have accountability, and we need transparency on this issue. So we're calling out to all law enforcement. Not everyone is encrypted to the same degree. Not everyone is encrypted to the same degree, but we need to have common sense about the era that we're in and going to full encryption and how that damages community enforcement relations. Thank you. Dr. Darwin. Yes.
I just have hold on. So I have one more thing to hit on. San Diego Police Department was given the option to go fully encrypted, and they chose to only encrypt the inquiry channel, which gives out private information of people that they encounter or who they're looking for. I asked that Bill Gore take the same measurements and follow SDPD Police Chief Ms. Light, if he can follow Ms. Light in the direction of being transparent. So there is an option to go encrypted or not go encrypted, and SDPD chief chose not to go encrypted to give transparency. So it is a possibility And it is something that the sheriff here can do, and we're demanding him to do and follow the same course of action.
What's your name and how you spell it?
Darwin Fishman, Darwin Fishman, F-I-S-H-M-A-N. And I am with the Racial Justice Coalition of San Diego, North County Equity Coalition. Thank you for including me. I just want to echo what you said. I just want to support what's said and really appreciate getting the word out about this. For me, as someone that's worked on the Community Review Board on police practices, and I'm also currently on the Juvenile Justice Commission, so I work a lot in law enforcement. The alarm bells went off about the Sheriff's Department going full encryption. It isn't surprising what he just shared about San Diego Police Department not doing that. Unfortunately, the Sheriff's Department has a horrible record of being transparent and sharing information, and for that matter, them not wanting people to view or to follow what they do, their work in arrest, unfortunately, is a really bad habit they have. We just witnessed the report coming out from CPE, Center for Policing Equity, which was really a damning report about racial profiling. Not only was it damning when it came out, but the Sheriff's Department did everything it could to not release it. And specifically, even though it was made available to them, they purposely waited till after the budget sessions, the Board of Supervisors. They have this attitude that all negative information about them has to be kept secret. And as Yusuf suggested, it's just the wrong way to go into this era. We're moving towards more transparency. That's why we have things like the cameras on officers. To do this, the encryption really, and the consequences are really a key point. If they move ahead with this, there's encryption and there's a lack of information about what the Sheriff's Department is doing. Folks are doing more and more cop watch, people simply listening in and seeing about whether it's fires or something in their apartment building, some kind of police action. It really can have a significant impact. It also, not just with the impact of potentially being harmed or decisions they make to, for example, escape, but also in their trust in the Sheriff's Department. When you're looking for someone who needs community help, putting up things like warrant signs, to help their kids be a part of it. Think about how you build community development. It looks like you're going to them for your time to seek the conflict experience. That makes it worse, but it's as better perception or reality that there's various bad intentions. From a community standpoint, it's just horrible. With the Sheriff's Department, we really need to do the exact opposite. Follow what San Diego clearly Police Department and other law enforcement agencies have done, and work more with the community, open up more of your process, share more information with the community, and allow for that the opportunity to go on ride-alongs with law enforcement. That sort of access should be open to the public. That should be just as we know about whether the fire department or we're looking at ambulance. All of that is public service. Law enforcement needs to fit in with that. It's a really horrible decision. I hope the Sheriff Board reverses it and chooses not to have this type of encryption and allow more public scrutiny, more public access to the work of the Sheriff Department does. Thank you.
And I'll summarize that. Hi, my name is Marcus Boyd. I am a founder of Cop Watch Imperial Beach. Cop Watch Imperial Beach started because of the lack of transparency in Imperial Beach, specifically with the Sheriff's Department. The city of Imperial Beach created an ad hoc committee to look at the sheriff's contract just after the George Floyd lynching. That ad hoc committee resulted in a recommendation to the city It was the first time an ad hoc committee for that city had ever been conducted by people of color. It was the first time that people of color were able to engage at city politics. At that point, the city ignored those recommendations regarding the sheriff's department and allowed the sheriff's further lack of transparency in the city. Because of that, Cop Watch Imperial Beach started in order to track the sheriff's department. Lieutenant Garmo, Lieutenant Mangania, they're all doing time today, and they were in charge of this Imperial Beach Sheriff's Department. Imperial Beach is not a desired duty station according to the sheriffs. So we get less than the best because that's not where they want to be. And if they're not watched, then that is at the community and not for the community. The lack of transparency that the sheriff's department conducts is at every possible opportunity. Anytime their information is used in a way that doesn't make them look good, they remove it from the web, they remove it from transparency. We need transparency in Imperial Beach. We need transparency in all of the municipalities that use the sheriff's contract. The sheriff's contract is not negotiated by the people. It is forced on them. Our costs in Imperial Beach have skyrocketed over the last few years for no apparent reason. We keep lowering our service every year and they keep increasing the costs. It can't continue. And the transparency is having cameras watching what they're doing, which is a protected First Amendment right. We demand transparency. Thank you. Our Cop Watch started about a year ago, 1 year after the ad hoc committee's recommendations were ignored.
Okay. And if you don't mind, would you spell your first and last name?
Marcusboyd.
Thank you, sir.
So to summarize, we're after transparency and accountability for the two Imperial Sheriff's Department that has gone full encrypted, and a warning to other departments who are thinking about going full encryption, who are partially encrypted at the moment. And we want to make sure that they know that this is anti the era that we're living in. It's counterproductive for the community's sake, for media's sake, for safety's sake. It is counterproductive. And we want to dissuade them from continuing in this further, putting the community in the dark. We see in certain cities, Carlsbad, Escondido, Fallbrook, all these places, they go so full encrypted that the community remains in the dark. San Diego is partially encrypted, and they're protecting that data that the DOJ suggests be protected. But they've taken the option to go full encrypted, which is against what we're actually trying to do. There's a petition out, the San Diego Sheriff's Public Transparency Campaign petition that we want people to sign on to all throughout San Diego County to make sure we're involved in that, so the politicians, the sheriff, and all the police chiefs know that the community is watching. We want transparency, we want accountability for our safety.
I wanted to. There was one other thing point that you brought up. That is, one more point that really should mention is one of the first things to encrypt was Chula Vista, and they have the highest use of force rate in the state because nobody's watching.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank everyone for coming. Thank you.